Hello and good time zone, everybody. Welcome to Horde of Tales. My name is Marcus, also known as the Chindividual. I am a pale Caucasian male with brown hair, a beard, glasses, and today in a dark red sweater. And I am the game master of this game, but it takes more than a single GM for a game. It takes a few other people who come and tell stories together with each other. And I would like to give each of them, who we have here today, a chance to quickly introduce themselves before we dive into the adventure. Starting in the top left of our overlay, Serial. Hello.
Hi everybody, my name is Serial, pronouns they, them. I am a Caucasian person with black short hair and a streak of grey across my fringe, and I am wearing dark clothes today, a black t-shirt and a black over shirt. And I play Rebus, who is a warforged, so kind of like a robot. They use any pronouns, usually they, them. They don't have an attachment to gender, really. And they are made of gold and metal and wood and kind of patched up a little bit, and they have a broken visor. Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Glad to have you and Rebus here. Ida, hello there.
Hello, and hi everyone. My name is Aida. My pronouns are she and her, and I am a Latina femme woman, a tan olive skin, dark eyes, dark hair, wearing a green and white blouse top with a fuzzy white shawl, something warm over because it's a little cold here. I am playing Rayn, whose pronouns are also she and her. She is a Triton woman. Her skin is aqua green. She has finned ears, wears a saffron orange outfit, and has a mop of seaweed black curly hair.
All right. Great to have you here with Rain as well, Ida. And also today here is Caro. Well, hello there, Caro.
Well, hello. I'm Caro, pronouns she, they, and I'm a Caucasian femme with like longer turquoise hair, and today wearing like a black blouse on top, and I'm playing Delphine, pronounced she, they as well, with rather long light bluish hair, a scar over her face, tan skin, a half elf, and generally dressed and rocking the pirate style.
Rocking that pirate style. Glad to have you here as well. And pirates, yes, I feel like that's going to be a bit of a theme for the coming adventure because you're about to head to practically a archipelago of islands that's filled with pirates and pirates who like to rule, pirates who like to plunder, and I'm really curious what all of you are going to do with these pilots. But
I'd like to meet our flag meets death kind of pirates.
like just an entire crew of that? Just
An entire crew of like a Haititis, yeah? Hey, I have.
Where are the queer pirates here? That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
You know.
I
Who's to say
understand
they all
what the
aren't?
I understand what the request here is. I shall put the Revenge and its crew in this game, and
Thank
we'll
you.
wait how you will inevitably team up with Steve Bonnet and Blackbeard. This
No, I
is
will.
going to be good.
Rain will inevitably become their queen, and all will be
Oh.
wonderful.
Maybe we'll just have one of the pirates you're going to meet is going to be Spanish Jackie. We're just going to put it all in there. This is just going to be we're turning this into an official. We're going to turn this into an OFMD fanfic now. So this is
Now I really want to play a one-shot on like a game based on the Our Flag Means Death universe.
That's, you know what? Reflavor that as Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
I think that would work. That would absolutely work in Thirsty Sword Lesbians. This
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm writing a post-it.
Wow.
Insert the SpongeBob meme. Write that down. Write that down.
You know what? I might as well just freaking do that.
So, before we come up with another great idea for a one-shot we can run here, how about we get to the chance to meeting a lot of pirates. But before I take us live for today's session, just to remind whoever is here, you have taken the wrong exit or maybe the right exit, and you ended up on Horde of Tales Twitch channel, where on Tuesday we play Dungeons and Dragons, and specifically the adventure series of Convergence Manifesto, a series of adventures that is set in the Eberron campaign setting by Keith Baker. Convergence Manifesto is a collection of adventures written by across Eberron, and you can find all of their adventures on dmsguild.com. We are in our 7th chapter, but we're currently playing the 9th chapter, why do I keep blanking on these? Weathering the Storm. Weathering the Storm. We're playing Weathering the Storm, and we've just started last week with this chapter. We play on Foundry Virtual Tabletop, and the music that you hear is by Dark Fantasy Studios. The overlay is made by Caro, and the character art that you see in our overlay is a co-op between Caro and Serial. Not only do you see his character art on overlays, but also on tokens and other art. Thanks both to you to make this fantastic art for our characters. Also, important, especially now as our adventurers today are just with 3 people and could use all the help they can get, Catvantage. Well, how does Catvantage work on this channel? If you spot a cat on someone's screen, you can use your channel points to give one of the players Catvantage, and they can use that Catvantage on a roll of their choice to get advantage. Keep in mind that you should not give Catvantage to a player who already has a dose of Catvantage. For example, Ida there, waving some weird stick creature around, currently has a dose of Catvantage. But if she spends it to get advantage, it's gone. Make sure to don't give Catvantage to a player who already has it. Make sure you name who player gets it. If you don't name a player, it goes to the GM. And if the GM already has Catvantage, well, the cat-apocalypse will happen or something. Also, I think last session, Ida, Neon Stick did not get utilized for a dose.
It did not seem too necessary because we had another cat who was very friendly on
That
screen.
is true.
And it was like, let's give... I harp no ill will against Charlie, against Milo, who I haven't seen in a while, against Shores either.
Yeah. But today we won't have Charlie here because unfortunately Austin isn't here. So there are less cat chance here. So I feel since Neon Stick didn't get a chance last session, you can still see if you can bring Neon Stick in this session. Use this power wisely. Very well. We're going to roll the intro, and we'll be right back for session 51 of Convergence Manifesto. There we are again indeed. So, last time on Convergence Manifesto, we wrapped up a little bit of downtime between the chapters of our adventures. Our brave adventurers who had just survived Fort Bones, the horrors of Mabar, and actually coming back from the dead, had a week of downtime. Each using it in their own ways. Some of them fighting in Sharn, others actually staying in a different plane of existence and get to know a celestial creature a little bit better, and others drinking and lying on beaches and being pestered by seagulls. In the end, however, all of our adventurers did seem to be gathered by an individual who the characters met earlier, and one of the parties actually related to this person. Leowyn de Lyrandar, Chief Raincaller of House Lyrandar, and now also working hard to establish some kind of order in his house after he was involved, apparently, in the assassination of the matriarch of the house. He has asked the adventurers to join him to the Lhazaar Principalities because he needs to gather all the support he can get from all the corners of Corvair to make sure that reason and control is restored in House Lyrandar. To get there fast, an airship was arranged where all of you are on, some of you with delightfully dramatic entrances to get on the airship, and also with a few familiar faces. Some other Lyrandars, some assassins that were also hired for this task. And we did end the last session as the party did talk about joining up together, sitting down for a few drinks, recapping what they have done in the past days. And we are going to pick up today's adventure actually at that point. And just to set the mood a little, let's see if this works how I want it to work. Oh, this
Wow.
actually works pretty well.
Nice.
Well made.
It's a battle
me
map,
just-
so there's a fight.
Even if I would
Don't-
say
don't
now
jinx it.
if I would say now, no, there is no fight, you wouldn't believe me, would you?
No.
I
Just
thought
because.
so.
Does that please you or displease you?
Just for, in all seriousness though, this map of the airship is not to scale. This is more a mood setter, a little bit of framing, just to show you that you're slowly gliding through the skies over the nation of Karnath and heading towards the Lhazaar Principalities. We start today's session with already the night that you were brought together having passed. You enjoyed your time together to catch each other up on whatever you want to catch each other up on. And it is currently morning. The day has started. You do know, you have been informed in the meantime that it should take about 3 days of flight to the Lhazaar Principalities, which is very fast considering how long that would take you by foot or by wagon or anything. And that for that time, all the amenities of the airship are yours. And I would like to ask you, party members, what do you do aboard this yet unnamed vessel?
Rain would be constantly seeking out people aboard the ship, party members, associates or not, and always be within earshot of someone talking or just being like friendly in the conversation. When she can't find someone, she's like standing on the deck or near the elemental ring. There's very few moments of silence wherever Rain is going. Even at night, she would always like find someone, corral people like, hey, let me teach you about something called gambling. Just to like get people talking, people being lively, sound.
Always trying to be at least in some kind of conversation or making some kind of sound aboard. The crew of the ship is it is a fairly small crew for this kind of operation, but you quickly get to see practically all of them. Also, you see most of the other passengers that are on board here. Rain, you would quickly find out that next to Darian and Scylla, who have come with you aboard, there is, of course, also some faces from Delphine's past, also here. You have already met Belden Zane, the tiefling, but there is he also brought some of his crew with him, and also you would have seen Haral about the ship, and Dythun would have informed you that she has come along with him, that Leowyn de Lyrandar also again hired her, in case whatever happens in the Principalities needs some sneaky assassin things. Generally, Rain, you would notice that the crew, whoever you talk to, most of them are pretty glad to have a conversation, as long as you're not disturbing them in any kind of important task like engine maintenance or actually steering the ship or something. But generally, most of the crew seems to be very open for conversation and is humoring you.
Yeah, I think for most of the time, Rain is the one asking a couple of questions. She's not the one necessarily going on and on. But if someone is, she'll try to, even if using magic, try to find what's that one thing that interests you? What's on top of your mind? Let me ask a probing question, get you to open up. Yes, you're on a stream. Go. Keep going. Further. Oh, you need another push to keep talking? Keep going. Yes, tell me all about that.
Really trying to get as much, like, is this with the intention of just like keeping the conversation going, or are you really trying to, or you're not trying to probe to gather information or something?
No.
All right.
Still scary though.
Most of the crew, like, if you just keep on leading the conversation like that, most of them are really open to just tell them about whatever you want to talk about. And there's no matter what time of day, you can find Rain somewhere on the ship having a conversation with someone.
Mm-hmm. And if it indeed has to be quiet, then she's like next to the loudest parts of the ship. She's like lounging next to the engine or lounging next to that ring, where I assume it'd be really loud.
As long as she's not somewhere where it's too quiet.
She's alone and it's absolutely quiet.
Right.
It cannot stand.
Gotcha. What are the others doing while Rain is making sure there's always some background noise?
I'm not super sure. Like, well, Rebus has been away for a while, so I think they would just want to spend time with their party members and their friends, and once we caught up, just see where they can be useful, mostly. Enjoying being around the movement and hustling and bustling of people working that are not in the plane of Danvi. And a bit of, enjoying the little chaotic ambience that it's around, even if it's not particularly chaotic, but like in comparison,
Right.
Not much apart from that, and maybe talking to the owners of the ship to see, to gather what happened.
And with the owners of the ship, would you specifically mean Leowyn? Or...
Well, I don't... If the opportunity arises, I think Rebus would first talk to, like, the people they know, so probably Medrith is...
Medrith,
I
yep.
keep forgetting names. But yeah, with Medrith, certainly, just catch up, see how this came to be, what... why we have the airship now. And if the opportunity arises with Leowyn, just to introduce themselves properly and just get to know them. I don't know, just to...
I think that's a good one to zoom in on. So Rebus, you would like to properly introduce yourself to Leowyn de Lyrandar. Like, when you arrived, Leowyn quickly gave all of you a rundown of like, we're heading to the Lhazaar Principalities, we're trying to find contacts there. But after that, he also quickly retreated together with Madrith to the captain's chambers to do the usual organizational and managerial tasks of running an airship. But today, like now, shortly after the sun has risen and the hustle and bustle on the ship is going, you do catch him as he is currently just seems to be doing the rounds on the ship, quickly just looking if everything is in order, if anything missed his attention. And the two of you are on the upper deck on the ship. It's a bit of a cloudy sky cast over you, but it's dry. And he's looking into your direction as you stand there, and he says, Rebus is the name, correct?
Yes, it's an honor to meet you properly, Lord de Lyrandar. Is that accurate?
Technically speaking, I am not a lord in the sense that I own any kind of land or the likes, but if you prefer honorifics, you could call me Raincaller.
Correct. Raincaller.
But considering the nature of your task, I will not take offense at you calling me Leowin.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. I will keep that in mind. I think that might be a bit of a remaining programming from whatever I was programmed to do originally. I tend to find honorifics easier. Regardless, it is an honor to properly meet you, and well, I do have a million questions pertaining to my good friend, but I think for now we can keep this somewhat light, and I will just inquire about the nature of, well, your presence here, or I guess our presence here. I did not expect this would be in the cards for us anytime soon, so what, how is the change of mind going?
Things are moving faster than I would have expected. But things had to move faster, since the situation in my house had become complicated. And whatever the matriarch did, whatever kind of plans she had, were far from the interests of our house. It's not as if I and the other higher ranking members of the family did not often try to impress on her the need to adjust course, to be a more visible leader to the family and invest whatever the family has in better projects. You must understand, Rebus, these deeds, these things, they are not done lightly. And like he starts a sentence and then he stops it and he looks at you and says, what has Delphine told you about me?
Well, apart from the fact that I respect the privacy of my friends, and regardless of your familial relationship to them, I will keep their opinions private. Not that much. She does not share kindly. I do not think she particularly enjoys reminiscing, at least not publicly, about her family or their ties to them.
She never was one for long conversation. And if the chance arises, I will try to stress this fact, but I want you to also know that it is good to know for me that she found companions like you and the others in your band to keep her engaged, to keep her mind off of other matters.
For example.
I said there are things in families that you do not do lightly. And I certainly did not, with a light heart, support the decision of sending my own daughter away from home.
I understand. However, it is not so much the voyage or having to flee as perhaps the impact that this might have had in her way of seeing things and their self-esteem and their way of judging themselves. She is an incredible and strong person, but so they understand their actions and the consequences. Perhaps the knowledge that they weren't alone in their struggle might have helped her in the past more.
You see Leowen listen intently to you, and especially on that last line, he looks away out towards the clouds. And after a silence, he just goes, "Thank you for the conversation, Rebus. There are a few other matters I have to attend to."
Naturally.
And you can clearly see as he walks away, like he quickly does a smile, does a little curtsy towards you, but you can see that the gears are moving in his head, and he's wandering away as he exits the scene.
I'll just clarify in case like you want to know the vibe that he would get. Like Rebus is not trying to like lecture him or be like you were a bad father or you should have told Delphine that like you cared or that like they weren't alone dealing with this or that she wasn't like it wasn't all her fault or like it's more on the sense of like Rebus gathers that like well he asked them what Delphine had said about him, right? And they were like, well, she doesn't talk much about her family, and I think even though there's things in their past that like she needs to work through, still most of the initial damage is kind of, you know, she's got it. It would have helped more. Like it would have helped more in the past, obviously, to have that support, to have that like not feel like her whole family is against her for some reason, or not feel like they don't care if they make an example out of me, like they just needed to do that and they don't care if it's me or if it's someone else. But Rebus doesn't say this out of like you did wrong or you should like feel bad about this, but more out of like just plainly being like, yeah, this is what I've gathered from this.
Yeah, basically
Like
just
this
being
is it's
being very like observant of like these are the things I saw here,
yeah,
and this
like
is my conclusion.
Rebus is very blunt in these cases where like they might not be thinking about how Leowyn is gonna take it, but more about like, yeah, this is what I think.
Gotcha.
You know.
Thanks for elaborating on that, to clarifying that. And I think what Rebus would definitely in that situation get away from it. It's not for Leowyn. Rebus wouldn't get the feeling that Leowyn feels like he just got lectured. It's more a sense of like, these were very honest words, and I need to ponder them elsewhere. And that's just that's the vibe that Rebus would get from Leowyn as he wanders off.
I mean, when a robot tells you, a robot without a face tells you these are the facts, then I don't.
Yep.
There's no second, meaning or anything. It's just
exactly. You need to think that through. While Leowyn is receiving valuable insights from the faceless robot, Delphine, what would you be up to around this time on the first day of the journey?
Well, probably spending most of the time on board of the ship and as best as she could evading her father.
It's like, we could imagine the scene where like when Rebus is finished talking with Leowyn and he wanders off, we can just at that moment, like Delphine was kind of like waiting to just come around the corner as her father walks away, so they don't cross paths. Yeah, so you're evading your father. And are there people that you wouldn't be evading? Are there
I mean, basically everyone else is okay.
Okay, gotcha. Whoever is not Leowyn de Lyrandar.
Even Rayn, if she wants to catch up on things and basically bother her the whole day.
Well, is Rayn around for that?
I think Rayn would be a little surprised if Delphine comes up for a chat. She's like, "Are you all right? You're looking at me. I'm concerned."
To be fair, I could ask the same question as well, because you seem more chatty than usual.
You only live once. Why not get an insight into the lives of many other people? That way you feel like you lived even more lives than you had. It's a win-win.
You're really doing okay.
Delphine can make an insight check.
Make an insight check. Ooh, wow.
How often does this happen that you inside your own teammates?
Not often.
I like rolling dice. Let's roll dice.
Oh yeah, this is good. 19.
I think even Delphine would have heard, like, Rayn has been getting everywhere. She's been up all night. And in the past, Rayn is definitely one to also enjoy doing her own talking and resting and being comfortable. She's not acting as she did at all. But she's a little, even her throat might be a little sore from like talking so much.
After that wolf thing and done, we didn't have much time to talk.
Well, we had a lot of time when we were traveling from that camp, and we didn't talk then.
I mean, obvious reasons.
What were they?
Well, your corpse on a flying whatever that was. and I joined Reapers on the ground, you know. There's quite a difference between that.
Even during camping at night? I mean, I've visited a few graveyards in my time. People are very chatty there.
Yeah, that's the thing, I don't like to visit graveyards.
Luckily, I was never in a grave.
But very much dead.
Ah. Noted.
And I fear that this might be the reason why you're now acting very much differently.
Because, like you said, I died.
And that's why I'm asking you if you're okay to check on you.
I'm not dead. The very definition of being okay. We can agree on this.
I mean, yes.
All right. I mean, what is life? If life is simply an animated body, then all right. We're all alive. It's a shame there can't be a little bit more beyond that.
Oh, just don't do anything reckless, okay? Just because you got a second chance. Okay?
What kind of life would that be? So what is more reckless, jumping off this ship right now and heading home, or continuing on this trip to go to the Lhazaar Principalities? From what I understand, a nation, if only on paper, of cutthroats, warlords, factions, competing goals, and piracy.
Well, to be fair, I would never think that you would go back to your family.
Maybe I start my own. Maybe I start a coup. Take what's mine. I mean, that's food for thought. Would you ever want to determine the fates of the Lyrandars?
Oh, well, I don't know.
Do you care about the fate of the Lyrandars?
Probably more than I would like to admit.
And to whom does that need to be admitted to?
That's not your concern.
I thought we were checking in on each other.
I mean, we do. One thing, since this is bothering me since some time. You know that trip we had on that train, where we were going first to Donwy?
We rode to that station, we met the dwarf, and then there was a robbery, and then we jumped. I think those were the only notable events I recall.
I mean, the basic things, yes.
Mm. Did you lose something on the trip? Did you leave something in your seat? Should I
No,
send something to the to the station masters?
I would have done so if that would have been the case. I just wanted to say that. Oh, God. Yeah, when we had that talk, and yeah, I wanted to say that this was very harsh of me, and I didn't meant it that way, you know.
Ah. Well, I guess no offense taken. That is simply your way. There are many things you can't admit to yourself, like just you said. And when you are able to admit things to yourself, let me know.
Sure. Well, I guess see you around then. Going.
Two of you walk away, or Delphine walks away. And so after this conversation, the journey towards towards the Lhazaar Principalities is continuing aboard the vessel.
I think during, like, I'm not sure what would be served for dinner, for the dinners, but if at one point there's like a seafood dinner, Rain would, excuse the descriptions, but she would save parts of the food. She'd ask the kitchens or even Dython if there was, like, if someone had like a bit of vinegar or like some brine water. I'm sure there's brine water on the ship. And she would keep in a little jar, like, part of that seafood dinner, namely an eyeball from, let's say, a roasted fish, and like a little tentacle from, say, some
Octopus,
you put it in the little
calamari.
jar, just kind of like shake it around. Yes. We shall see you soon. Pockets that.
Actually, I think, Ida, you have an excellent suggestion for a scene that still happens on the airship. During these coming days, there will be an evening where Leowyn de Lyrandar invites all of you to the captain's quarters for having dinner together. You come into the captain's quarters where, well, it is still an airship, so it's not like you're entering a luxurious large ballroom or something, but there's still enough space at a long table for the four of you, but also for Leowyn, Madrith, Darian, and Scylla, who joins the dinner. In the corner of the room, there's a interesting magically technological device which kind of looks like a similar to like what a gramophone would look like, with a big, like, what do you call it, like horn on top of the gramophone where the sound comes out. The big sound outlet for a gramophone, and attached to it are multiple tubes and crystals, and from it comes a very pleasant kind of classical orchestra music as you enter. Madrith is wearing what looks like a kind of uniform for the occasion. Very tightly fit military uniform or navy uniform. Darian is wearing another of his beautiful dandy outfits, a long overcoat in this time a bit of a purple color to it, with a yellow blouse underneath it, very frilly blouse underneath it, his hair combed back, and a lot of chains and rings on. And Scylla is in a very quite simple but well-made dress in a dark blue. She is having dinner with House Lyrandar. She can try to match the colors. And there is indeed a lot of food served here on the dinner table. And Leowind the Lyrandar ushers everyone to the table. And then once everyone is seated, he stands up, raises his glass, and says, "This pales in comparison to the luxuries that we have in Stormhome. But I wanted to use this chance, this dinner together, to share a meal. As already a thank you ahead of time for your cooperation in this plan. Please, eat, drink, converse. Do not feel stifled by my presence. Though, if I've observed all of you correctly, that is hardly a hinder to you." And he sits down after having raised his glass and also starts cutting into the food, whereas Scylla also carefully starts cutting it apart, and everyone else around the table is also digging in. Darian, who is just like put like what looks like a bit of fish on his fork, he leans backwards, just to no one in particular at the table. He says like, "You know, I always wanted to go to the Principalities. And when I was younger, I always wanted to take a trip there. But the family always said, nuh-uh, no decent Lyrandar goes to the Principalities. But here we are. Does it mean we don't have a single decent Lyrandar at this table?"
Rain is like cackling.
Well, I believe that would depend on how you would choose to define decency, right? It opens up a more philosophical question about definitions.
Darian looks at you, Rebus. Well, I guess you could see it philosophical, though I have to be honest with you, my shiny and polished friend. Philosophical thought sometimes strains me a bit. I'm not sure if it is the right way of taking this conversation for a relaxing dinner among friends. Well, I mean, some of us have known each other longer than others. I mean, most people at this table have had the pleasure of knowing me for quite a while, and I am so glad to be back with the family.
Rain would like smile, raise a glass, and looking around at the very nice dressed people, feels a little underdressed, and would use disguise self to change to a more formal, traditional Triton outfit. I would imagine it's almost like very Grecian inspired. It's very draping, but instead of white, it's very like mother of pearl gossamer kind of shining fabric with some metallic armor elements overlaid on top, and draping material, as in like it goes from her shoulder and it's completely open to her wrist, so that the fins on her underneath her elbows can move, so that she has almost a waist piece that is also cinched and metallic that kind of matches her golden sword, also so that the fins behind her legs can be free. She's like, "Yes, you have worked hard, Darian, and I'm glad that you're able to enjoy some just desserts."
Quite. Leowind, who's currently like cutting up his food, he looks up and he looks over at Rain, now realizing the change in her outfit, nods, and then says, "Well, there are good reasons for not just letting any Lyrandar go to the Principalities. Last time, one of our family went there was for less than good reasons. And he looks at Delphine and then also at Madrith and Darian. It's not a matter that was widely discussed in the family. We actually tried to keep it a little bit, well, hidden. But an exorciate of the Lyrandar family is said to still be dwelling in the Principalities.
Interesting. Daring. Indecent. But then again, those who have never dared and those who have never failed also never tried.
Be that as it may, that trying of that former member of a family, the way they went against what a family stood for, against the hierarchy in the family and anything that was expected of them, was what also laid the groundwork for the unrest in the family, considering Delphine's reasons for her standing with the family.
Oh?
Delphine was not a fan or favorite of many in the family. I think you can imagine, and he looks, while he says this, Delphine, he looks at you and he says, I think you know her well enough by now that she picks her own path. And that kind of insubordination can make people nervous. It makes people in power nervous.
I couldn't possibly relate.
While I still consider that whatever Delphine did that led to her current circumstance, there were other people who were using the banished member of a house as a reason that we should deal with Delphine in equal way, making her a full exorciate. To clarify, being exorciated from a house used to mean in the old days that we would try to strip your dragon mark from your body. But that is in the past. Exorciation these days, however, is still a full, formal banishment from your lineage, revoking any birthright. And as I think that we were, and he stops there and then looks again at Delphine, as I think we might have been a bit too harsh on Delphine's judgment, I do think we were much too harsh on the judgment of the exorciated Lyrandar in the Principalities. And I'm hoping to find him.
I see. So, Delphine's banishment was directly influenced by the banishment of this particular person in the past.
In her insubordination, her behavior reminded many in the house of the behavior of this exorciate. And in an attempt to deal with it as quick as possible, to not allow for any unrest within the ranks, well, many were quickly convinced to vote for Delphine's temporary removal from family affairs.
Right, so I assume whatever this person did was quite traumatic for the past of the family. To have carried a generation after is still such an important weight in decisions. Yet you've mentioned that perhaps you were too harsh. Was it also a split decision?
These kind of decisions are often split decisions. It always comes down to a few votes, to a little bit of influencing behind the scenes. If the house was always of one mind for these matters, we would have already become the most powerful Dragonmarked House in the family. But alas, we're rarely united on things like these.
Why do you need them now? Is the House Lyrandar... How, I guess what I'm asking, and forgive me if this is too forward of me, of course, I really do not have any interest in the internal politics of the houses. I am here for a different matter. The main point of it being my friends. But is the House Lyrandar now experiencing a rift, an internal civil war, essentially, for the power vacuum that the death of the matron has left?
That is what I'm afraid of.
I
Some
understand.
within the house who promised to support me, after what had to be done to the matriarch, turned traitor and decided to make their own bid for power. A new matriarch or patriarch must be manifested as soon as possible, and I will throw my name in the hat. But I might need some more forces at my back to support that claim. The Principalities have the Exorciate, and I've heard that he has gathered a fleet behind him. The Principalities have Prince Ryger and the Sea Dragons, who would be a powerful ally, and who will be open for any kind of additional support they can get from a Dragonmarked House. I fully intend to come back to Stormhome with more weight to my vote.
So an alliance of convenience.
I would even dare call it necessity.
Not one of attrition.
What kind of attrition would there be here?
Things have changed, you said. Maybe perhaps we're too harsh. Perhaps it is time to grow bonds for the family's sake. No, you bring up valid points about the need to strengthen your alliance for these complicated internal political things. It just makes me wonder. Rain picks up her glass and just kind of swirls it around. A family that stamps out dissent, originality, outside the box thinking, personality. Is that the mark of a strong house or a weak one?
Leowyn takes his own glass, and he's just listening to you, puts the glass to his lips, takes a sip, looks over at Delphine. Puts his glass down. I have no answer to that question.
Nor
think there
do
are many
I.
answers.
And nor to, and I raise my glass towards Dython too.
Dython like goes up, just quickly raises his glass. It's Leowyn says, I hope this journey will be fruitful. And rest assured that when we are successful, House Lyrandar will not forget what you've done for us.
And what is if there is no success on this mission?
Then I shall return to Stormhome and see what game I can play with the cards I have left. There are other potential successors to the matriarch, but I fear that none of them have a claim strong enough to guarantee stability. I want to make sure that when I take my claim for that seat, I can guarantee stability to the house. I don't want to be a ruler. What our house needs in these times is unfortunately a bureaucrat. If there's one thing that I have learned in my years of being a Raincaller, it is the art of bureaucracy. This fish is amazing. I need to make sure that the chef knows about it. And Leowyn continues eating as there's the sounds of the clatter of plates and the sounds of things moving around the table during the dinner as you continue this evening meal with the Lyrandar family, as we see the airship flying further off towards the horizons. Looming already on the horizon, a vast ocean with many, many islands. And that's where we're going to take our first break for today. We're just going to do a quick 5 minutes break before we return to the airship. If you haven't gotten your sea or air legs yet for this ride, this is a great chance to get used to being on an airship, or just grab a drink, stretch your legs a little bit, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes for the second part of today's session. And here we are again! Welcome back! It's the second part for today's session, and our characters, our adventurers, our heroes are currently on an airship heading towards the Lhazaar Principalities. They just had dinner with Daddy Lyrandar, also known as Leowyn de Lyrandar, and are continuing their journey towards the principalities. And actually, I think we are going to pick up right there, talking about the principalities. In grand total, the journey in the airship takes you about 3 days. One of the beautiful things about an airship is that it doesn't have to rest. It doesn't have to dock somewhere overnight. You can keep flying 24/7. And that is what this ship does. After 3 days aboard this ship, the party wakes to a day with clear skies and the sound of seagulls beneath them. A vast ocean reflecting the sunlight, and the ship approaching an island. Madrith stands at the front of the ship, looking down towards this island you approach. And from your current altitude, you can't really see out any details. But the closer you come, all of you see that on the coast of this island, a city lies in a bay. There are houses and buildings set on the beach and on the rocky cliffs of it. But a large part of this city is built around long docks. Multiple long docks reaching out into the ocean. Smaller docks branching off of them. And ships of various sizes docking there. Some of them small fishing boats, others large merchant vessels. But towering over them all, you can even see from this altitude a massive ship at the heart of this docking complex. A larger ship than you have ever seen, about 12 masts with large sails attached to it. And it almost looks as if all these other ships are gathering around it. Madrith looks down, and the party, all 4 of you, including Daithun, are nearby at this point. And she says, "It's Regalport down there. That's where we're going to take this ship down, or at least lower some of the boats down to set sail into Regalport. And from there, see if we can get an audience with the High Prince."
So excuse me, I have a concern. If my limited knowledge on piracy and communities that, have been prosecuted and therefore have found a safe haven to exist, do we have a way to announce ourselves and not create an incredibly offensive retaliation from the people we're trying to approach?
Ah, yes. Is this prince an eclectic person? Do they have a stick up their posterior?
As you say that, Rain, Darian basically comes sliding into the conversation, leaning on the railing, and he just slides in there. I heard a thing or two about High Prince Ryger. I heard, first of all, that he is extremely wealthy. I heard also that he once fought 20 pirates at the same time with just a rusted nail. And I also heard that, just like moi, he has a certain, presence. He likes to be seen. He likes to be the center of attention. Not that I always want to be the center of attention, you know that. Sometimes I can also go into the shadows and hardly be noticeable.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that's what I heard about Ryga. So maybe, and yes, Rebus?
Maybe there will be a planar explosion if both of you are in the same room.
Is
We
that
could
a
test it
concern we
out.
should? And well, I was more referring to, that is once we get to the prince's presence, but I don't think vessels from the Lyrandar family will be welcomed in their approach. So how do we avoid getting shot at? Is more my question.
Oh, you want to
And I
make
look,
sure that
I look
that-
for Lewin and Midrith and people who actually know what they're doing in the ship.
yeah, and Matrix is right nearby, and she looks at you, and she gives you like this look, like I got what you meant, and she looks over at at Daria and gives him the look of like, shut up, idiot, and
No,
then
please, Darren, please do continue. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Matrix says,
This is more me than Rebus. Just please. I'm
Matrix says, fortunately, nothing on our ship gives us away as a Lyrandar. We have made sure to hide any kind of regalia, insignias, flags that we have of the family. The only thing that could give it away is that this is an actual airship, and there's not many outside of the Lyrandar family who are able to steer one. So, we're of course are not just going to go down there and go completely unannounced. Lord Leowyn is already busy sending messages down to the proper instances.
So we do
Yeah.
not need a ruse to get this attention. That's a shame. I was thinking perhaps I could pose as a possible bride to be. And then
Darian
it's going
butches
to
in. Oh
elaborate.
yes, a bride to be for the High Prince. That's how we get into the palace. Or, this is what I heard, the High Prince doesn't even have a palace. He has this large ship that you see there, down there. That's his palace, a floating palace.
That's why this person is the High Prince. As far as I know, in Lhazaar, the larger your ship is, the larger your fleet is, the more power you have.
Oh, they have a complex.
Darian looks at Rain. I mean, I get it. If I could have a gigantic boat, I would also have a gigantic. I used to have a magnificent boat. You've seen my boat, Rain. You've
What
seen my
actually
ship.
happened to your ship?
Stop flashing me your boat, Darian.
There's a blush on his cheek as he then turns to Delphine to answer the question that he doesn't blush about.
Mater's boat was better.
The blush intensifies. He focuses more on Delphine. Well, what happened to my boat was an accident. You know what happened after we got out of Stormhome?
It went
And-
oops.
Yes, Scylla has the full story, if you're interested. She actually already novelized it.
It didn't
So,
last very long, is what you're saying.
At this point, he looks at
Did you manage to sink your own ship?
See, this is what...
The second
That's how
time.
If you say it like that, it sounds like it's a bad thing.
First, the airship. Which probably a lot of people will never forget.
No, they actually keep reminding me about that.
Now, your other ship.
Oh, the red one. That crashed. Since when? I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, but as said, Scylla novelized the events of that second ship.
And they still let you step onto, like, this ship.
Well, I have a very broad set of skills. Not just captaining ships. Look, consider how many ships I've been a captain of. Losing 2 of them is not that much.
How many ships have you been a captain of?
Five
The
and a
quote is really
half.
bad.
Not they're very reassuring.
We're talking about ships, not fishing boats.
At that point, Leowyn the Lyrandar comes joining in on the conversation, and Darren goes like, "Ah, Lord Lyrandar, uncle, family," and Leowyn looks at all of you.
Delphine doesn't count, I guess.
I've reached out to the officials in Regalport, if one can call them that. We can lower the airship, bring out the boats, and sail into the harbor, and make ourselves known to the sea dragons.
Sea dragons. What a humble name.
High Prince Ryger is known for many things, but not for his humility.
I hope I will enjoy this Prince Ryger.
Do you enjoy the presence of my nephew over here?
I am challenged and entertained.
You should consider going into
And
politics.
that's coming
Miss
from
Rain.
Rain.
And with that, you do notice the ship is slowly lowered, and you're getting closer to the city of Regalport.
And I present Darian with a ship so that you may break your unlucky streak. Protect this with all your heart.
It's
Does Delphine actually lose their shit because please I need this?
This is actually very adorable, Rain. This is if it wasn't such a terrible joke, this would be very heartfelt. Thank you.
Captaining is very serious. There is no joking when it comes to the safety of your vessel and those that work on it, Darian.
I fully agree.
What a crass thing of you to say.
Well,
Do
and
I
he
look
takes
like
the-
I'm joking?
You look a little bit like like I'm not really sure how I should respond to you. Are you making a joke? Are you serious?
Darian de Lyrandar, fulfill your honor as a captain of your vessel. And I walk away.
And we see as you walk away, he looks at the little origami boat you gave him. He pins it to his chest, and he just does this really quick salute before he gets on one of the boats. And we have the entire party.
At this point, Delphine loses her shit because this is like hilarious.
At this point, we have the party in the boats approaching the harbor of Regalport. Just let me quickly change up the music a little bit.
Yo ho, a pirate's life for me on repeat.
I'm afraid we don't have the license for that. And I wasn't all up for trying to get the license. Well, how about you just play the Music Foundry?
No.
TikTok
It
sea
will-
shanties.
Should we? Anyone here who just wants to go and improvise a sea shanty? It's
There once was a ship that blew to sea. We all know that one, right?
No, this is no. We're not over with the session yet. Come on.
It doesn't want to play the music.
No. Yes, this one I wanted. There we go.
Ah.
Regalport is, especially as you approach it on these small vessels that you have, is one vast and massive collection of docks, walkways on elevated sticks, and a labyrinth of ships. Most of the population here lives on their boats of various sizes. Some of these ships here actually have multiple levels, almost like floating little apartment buildings. And as you maneuver your ships through these alleys created by ships on water, you actually see like laundry lines spanned across from one ship to another. You see children climbing over the roofs of ships and everything. All this kind of life that you expect in city streets is now moved to the ships out here in the harbor. And as you navigate your little boats, your vessels through these harbors, you make your way closer and closer to the center of Regalport. And you already spotted this ship from up in the sky when you approached. But now you can see it up close. If Regalport is, as they say, the jewel of the Lhazaar Sea, then the ship before you must be the brightest gem in its trove. A massive and powerful vessel you see as you approach already. On its front, in beautiful calligraphy, the name of it, Dragon Eye. And the empty space in the O is actually filled with a painted, slitted eye of a dragon. A marvel of ship design, and it proudly displays the banners of the High Prince, a fierce sea dragon on a field of blue-green waves. As you approach, your ship's approaching, you already see that high on the various decks, the various levels of this massive ship, sailors, deckhands, and armed forces gather, looking at you as you approach, and slowly get ready to come aboard the Dragon Eye. What do you do as all of you approach this massive ship with all of these people looking down on you, keeping an eye on you as you approach?
Rain just kind of centers the name to her vision and almost like sort of pokes the dragon eye image with her finger to her eye.
Book.
I mean, this fascination with eyes being so much in namesakes in designs of power. They're the most indefensible, weak part of your body. They're wet and will deflate at the smallest intrusion. Oh well. And you said these people are like looking down at us.
Yeah, what might be interesting to also highlight is this ship is so massive that the front side from which you enter, it's almost like, you know how a wharf where ships are built, they have like these planks that, or like these rails that lead ships to the water once they're completed, like they just come out of the wharf. The front of this ship has something like that, but meant to access it as you come in, so that your ships, or your boats, are put on these rails, and you're slowly being pulled in to the dry parts of the ship inside. And that process here, while that's happening from above, on like, there's probably a ship term for it, and I should learn ship terms one day because we have a lot of ships in this game. But there's what kind of like, the ship has kind of like balconies or something that are on the outside, and there's all whatever, probably its crew or its members of this ship palace, all kinds of people just looking who's coming in here, who's coming to visit the High Prince.
And we're walking down a dock above water.
You're currently still on your boats,
Mm-hmm.
and these are being pulled in on these rails into this massive ship, into the Dragon Eye. It's basically a reverse wharf that you're being pulled into.
Then, with your discretion, I'd like to use a wall of water, which does create a wall of water on the ground at a point I can see within range. But I'd like to use that wall of water rather than in a defensive or offensive manner, as a sort of water show that like creates this high collar of water that just kind of cascades up and down like the border of a seashell, like very foamy edges. I want to create
Right.
this ostentatious water show. I will expend the spell. This third level.
Absolutely. Yeah, you
Wow.
can expel the spell slot for that. And yeah, this ostentatious water show appears. Would you say that it like appears behind you and your companions as you enter the ship? Like kind of like a curtain that's being pulled up behind you?
Behind, these sort of high collars that like old nobility regents sort of wear, that lacy sort of thing that goes behind people's heads. I'm thinking like that sort of imagery.
Nice. And that's the imagery that all these onlookers get. As your boats are being pulled up inside the ship, you hear the machine that has pulled you in. It comes to a stop, like your ships are untied from the ropes that have been put on them. And you're standing on, now you're basically entering docks inside a ship. There's other smaller vessels in here, as if this large ship has devoured them. And you see already at the docks as you enter, there stands a trio of armed forces. To call them soldiers might not be fully accurate. They wear studded leather armor. They have a saber on their belt, and the armor and cloth underneath the armor are also in the blue-green colors of the sea dragons, and also emblazoned on their studded leather armor is also a fierce-looking sea dragon. What gives all of them a personal touch is that each of them wears a different hat. One of them actually decided to go for a full helmet, only revealing the eyes. Another one has actually a similar hat as Delphine has, like a bit of like a tricorn design to it. But instead of any kind of feathers or other decorations, there's actually from the top of the hat 2 octopus tentacles that dangle down. And the third one has it is what looks to be, must have been once the head of some kind of scaly sea monster, some kind of sea serpent. But he just has like the head of a sea serpent on, the lower jaw removed, and just the upper jaw up on his head, and the eyes are replaced with gems in there. The one with the sea serpent on his head steps closer, looks at all of you as you exit the boat. Visitors from far away. You have an audience with High Prince Ryger, Lord of the Principalities, ruler of the waves, and rightful heir to King Galifar. May he rest in peace. And the other 2 echo, may he rest in peace.
What gracious hosts.
You shall learn that hospitality of Regal Port is boundless to those who respect it. Follow us. The High Prince awaits. All of you get out, and Leowyn looks also at the trio of soldiers with their assortment of hats. And he turns to all of you and he says, I'm assuming all of you are aware enough that hospitality does not mean that we are in the home of a good person.
Noted. Exciting.
You're
If-
being led by the trio of soldiers up a bunch of staircases, and what seems to be flanking these stairs is a collection of portraits and hunting, or maybe more fishing trophies. There are gigantic self-portraits of, not self-portraits, that would imply that he painted himself, but portraits of what you think is the same person, but just in different ages, different phases of his life. As you start ascending the stairs, you see a portrait of what looks like a boy of maybe 16, 17 years old, standing atop a bunch of barrels on the back of a ship in like a directing pose. He's wearing raggedy clothing, but he's inspiring a bunch of raggedy pirates on a vessel. And the next painting that you see is what is the same boy, a little bit older, a young adult at this point, who's on a ship with massive waves behind him, and he's just in this larger than life pose, as if this water is like towering behind him to show how magnificent he is. Another painting, and in between these fishing trophies, gigantic marlin are attached to the wall. You see attached to the wall also these parts of octopi and other gigantic fish. And the next painting you see is, again, the same man, but now, again, a lot older and very serious looking, dressed in fine clothing, and just painted next to a table with a treaty on the table. And the detail in the painting is not bad. The treaty, actually, you can actually see the name of the Treaty of Thronehold. And all of you would have heard of the Treaty of Thronehold. It's basically the treaty that ended the last war. That all nations signed to make sure that the war ended and this era of, well, at least not a global war, but certainly very lingering tensions began. And at the top of the stairs, you come to this massive wooden door. And over the door is just looking down on you this head of a hammerhead shark, a gigantic hammerhead shark that seems to be looking down at you before you enter. The soldiers take a position. One of them goes, tuk-tung, tuk-tung, tung-tung, knocks on the door. And the other two go, "Hail, High Prince Ryger! Hail!" And the doors are being pulled open from the other side. You see a room that is a hybrid between a throne room and the lower decks of a ship. Most of the things here are made out of wood, but pillars hold up a high ceiling. There are long tables in the room. There could easily be 50 people feasting here at the same time. And right now, there's about 20 people spread across long tables. Various ancestries, various lineages. You see humans, you see elves, you see dwarves. Rayn, you even spot at one table, you see a Triton sitting there with scars over one eye and a very, very broad-shouldered, old-looking Triton just looks as a lot of you enter, takes a sip from a drink. But what catches all of your attention is at the end of this room sits a throne, completely built out of large chunks of driftwood. Massive pieces of wood that were salvaged from the sea. Carved. The back of it is then carved into this serpent, this sea dragon that envelops the throne, and on the top of the chair, the head of the serpent looks down on the head of the person sitting on the throne. A man in, say it's 40s, late 40s. Short beard, a weather-carved face, salt and pepper hair, a multicolored outfit, just a coats of rainbow colors, a shirt that is a few buttons far too open. You can see his chest with many scars on his chest. These black boots, like the boots with like that are folded over at the end, like really these pirate boots on, belts and buckles, and he's just sitting there, legs wide, on the throne as the doors shut behind all of you. He's looking at all of you. Everyone in this room is looking at all of you. A bunch of pirates, a bunch of rulers. What do you do with all eyes on you?
I'm trying to be very much what my body actually asks me to do is to be just very proper but non-threatening, not taking my weapon with me or anything. It's just, it's on my back, but just very non-confrontational. And as you know, I don't really stand like a military warforged, just a more relaxed, elegant position. So I am just observing, keeping everything in check, making sure where the possible exits could be, and who could hit us the hardest. Just in case
Basically,
things go wrong.
you're like sizing up everyone, and where would you be able to flee if necessary?
Yes, but nonchalantly. Thankfully,
Yep.
without an expression on my face, that's not too difficult. Just
All right. What's anyone else doing?
Well, Delphine is standing there scanning the room very casually, actually. Like, okay, there's a bunch of people just staring at us, but it's like, yeah, okay. Whatever.
Perfect.
Rain smiles at the attention and starts walking forward. Walks to the table, kind of like puts her hands very gently on the shoulder of whoever may be sitting there. And with her other arm, it reaches over and like grabs a turkey leg. Brings it, gives it a sniff, takes a bite. Oh, it's delicious. Handed to the person I touched the shoulder. Does the prince have a drink while on the throne?
Yes, he has like this huge mug there. But before you get to his mug, Rain,
I wanted
could
to
you
start
give-
walking. Go ahead. Tell me.
Could you give me a performance or persuasion check, please?
I am laying it on thick, but I also want to kind of show that I'm not a threat. I'm just down for a party, so I'll make it persuasion. And you said it's a straight roll, or?
Yeah, straight roll.
You feel good. You feel like a good day today. Math. 24.
24.
Must always invoke the gods of math for favorable results.
You make this power move of just walking up to one of them. And Rebus, you've been sizing up people here casually, like really getting a feel for any dangerous ones. And Rain is walking to The one person that your intuition tells you is one of the bigger threats here. You basically, Rain, just to paint you a picture, you walk to this female orc about 2 meter 20 tall, massive frame. She has leaning next to her a great axe. She is she's covered in scars, and she is radiating the readiness of just pouncing on whoever gets in her way. You grab her shoulder, reach over for a bit of turkey that's on the table.
Like the whole leg, the bow, the drumstick.
And her eyes, red eyes, follow your every movement. And you see her fingers are twitching for like, she wants to reach that axe, but she looks at you as you put it on thick. And there's just this from the back of her throat.
No, I insist, it's delicious. Have a lovely meal. I'll just turn around and keep walking down. A couple of patrons down. If there's an empty chalice or a chalice in the middle of the table, I'm just going to grab it. Take a drink. Keep walking down the table towards the prince. And the prince has you said he has a large drinking vessel. Is there also like a source of the drink? Is there like a wine bottle or a barrel or something near him?
I think he would totally have, like, right next to the throne.
His own
he
carafe?
has like, yeah, a carafe, yeah.
So I take whatever chalice or mug was on the table and I drink it on. Not bad. And then I'll use shape water to slither that drink out of my drinking cup and put it into a random vase.
Just
I take a sip. That's nice. I put
Not
the drink back
sanitary.
while keep my cup back. Walk down a few more steps. Take shape water to water bend another drink into it. Even better. As I start getting closer and closer to the prince.
as you do that,
I say is like, oh dear, my cup is empty.
the prince is sitting there observing you. And as you get closer, more and more of the people in the room get up from their seated position. The orc lady with the great axe is like taking it, putting it on her shoulder. And Rain just keeps walking down towards the prince, doing her water bending.
Rain, I don't believe this is the most diplomatic approach.
The prince just keeps seated. And Rain, you would notice this because you're walking towards him. He's leaning back in his throne and he's smiling at you.
Ren is also just like smiling, charming, keeps walking forward. And when she gets to the end of the table, where the table ends, and then there's the space before the throne and the whole setting, she's going to do a very proper but quick curtsy. May I join you for a drink?
He looks at you, looks like he's looking down at you, puts his mug to his lips, and as he chugs, he gets up from his seated position. You could join me anytime you want. And he reaches out his hands and pulls you up.
I will fly, so float up and land on his lap.
And he lets out this hearty, loud laugh that echoes in the hall. And you see, like, all of the pirates in the room who were getting up, reaching for their weapons. They look at each other, some of them in confusion, some of them in a look of like, oh, it's this again. And then slowly they sink back to their seated position. Prince Ryger, once Rain is in his lap, looks across the room towards the rest of the party. And he shouts, "If House Lyrandar would always come with such amusing guests, they would always be welcome here in Regal Port." Sit, come closer. My hall is yours. I, High Prince Ryger, welcome you. And then he looks at you, Rain, and goes like, and especially you. What's your name?
Rain Undinath.
Rain, Undinath?
Big fan.
Can you do that trick of yours to fill up my cup, please? I think I will need it.
Only for a hug.
Can you give me an insight check, Rain?
We're kind of both sizing each other up. Ooh! That's a natty 20 for a 23.
Nice.
The moment that you mentioned your last name, his face dropped. And as you ask him to give you a hug, he goes, we can be here all day, Rain. Let's not hurry things.
Let's get to know each other first. Yes, and I will fully not hiding my somatic gestures, waterbend the liquid from his carafe to his mug.
Yes, he drinks. Meanwhile, the rest of the party. Yes.
Why this happening is I'm noticing like that Rebus is like not so comfortable in the situation. I'm getting basically, since we were invited to sit close to the prince on the table, I give Rebus a hug, like a pat on the shoulder, like she is handling this pretty well. Don't worry.
I hope you're right.
If there
Rebus,
would have been anything that would get us killed, we would have been done by now.
as you say that, Delphine, there's actually come up from one of the tables was this this fish person came up towards you, a bipedal scaled figure with a very fish-like head, almost bulbous eyes, and a significant underbite. And this fish person, both of you would recognize this. This is a Sawagin, also a sea-dwelling people that you usually don't see too much on land. But hey, you've been traveling with a Triton that you hardly ever see on land. And this Sawagin walks up to both of you, Delphine and Rebus, and goes, "Would you care for a drink?"
Sure.
Come, join us at our table.
Gladly.
DM, you never told us if on our way if Delphine, Rain, and Dythun managed to get Rebus drunk last time.
That is a very vital question. Serial asked the player of Rebus, do you think Rebus could get drunk?
Well, I feel like they were made to be able to like detect, at some point to like detect the composition of things, and they can't put food and drink like with them. They can't eat. They don't need to, but they can eat and then either store it or actually like burn it for fuel. I feel like if you put alcohol in there that is like enough quantity and they choose to like process it, maybe it could be, funny to their internal processes. I think they have to choose to actually like, burn it and not just like keep it in a like stored.
Right.
But
they could make the decision to like, hey, I want to consume this and burn this, and that makes sense regarding Warforged physiology. So yes, Rebus would know that if they want to, they can get a little bit of a buzz.
Maybe not now, though. Maybe not. They're too stressed about the whole situation. I mean, I know we're partying, but also like
The two of you, Rebus, while you're having these thoughts, the two of you are being led over by the Sawagan to one of the tables, where there's also an assortment of other people who call you welcome, like, oh, sit down on our table. And before you know it, there's just like this massive mug of something very strongly alcoholic smelling put in front of you. And also, Delphine, you also get a mug of that size. And all of these ragged pirates around you look at you expectantly to see what you do with the drinks.
Chug it.
Chug
Like,
it?
They want a display of whatever, they get it.
Right.
Let's go.
Rebus, you're also drinking it? You're chugging along?
Sure. If Delphine is fine with this, if Dythun is also,
Oh, Dythun is also
sticking by, I'll
Dythun is
just
also
be
with
like,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, Dythun came with you to the table as well, and he's having his drink, and he's also drinking along. If the two of you are having that drink, could I get a Constitution saving throw from both
Sure.
of you?
Don't forget, Serial, that Rebus gets a +2 to con save.
Yeah, because you're
Oh,
in
nice.
the
Yes.
aura. At this point, I would say that Rain is too far away.
also have
should see the aura.
Oh, I'm also drinking.
I have a
No, you're not
Okay.
drinking. You're not
Okay,
drinking.
good.
I
Rain.
have advantage. I have advantage against getting poisoned. Does alcohol count as a poison?
It's a poison, definitely, 100%.
In real life,
you can-
yes, but like I don't.
You can roll with advantage.
Great. Not bad. Yeah. 21 for Rebus.
Am I within 60 feet?
Same, 21.
No, actually 23 with the +2 from.
I'm still at 21.
Rain.
Am I within 60 feet?
Yes, within 60 feet, yes.
Silvery barbs on Rebus.
Oh no.
Reroll. One more die, and you take the lower.
That was a natural 20.
Rebus was
Sorry,
pretty hot
Ray.
here.
I give myself advantage.
Fair.
Don't think I like silvery barbs now. Yeah. Rebus, Delphine, you both take that drink in, and it's harsh. It's strong. It burns, but you successfully chug it down. Rebus, for you, there's this one moment where like, oh god, but you power through. And both of you put the empty mugs down, and the people around you go like, "Ah, yeah!" At this moment, there's someone pulling out his accordion and is doing like this music and everything. There's just a bit of party going as both of you chugged it down. Rain, you from up there are still on the lap of Prince Ryger. He's talking to you like, well, I first like to have my guests get a little bit comfortable before we move over to business. Also, I've been having a lot of business today already. I want to also enjoy myself, and my crew should also enjoy themselves, right?
Yes, enjoy yourselves. I was talking earlier to my companions about ships, and yours is so much bigger.
I have a very large ship. I have been told it is probably the largest ship on the Lhazaar Sea.
I have not seen any bigger. Yours is gloriously large and very tall. That mast we arrived on. Extraordinary.
I had recently had one of the masts redone. It's actually larger and with more girth now than before.
Fascinating.
I have a feeling you're not just here to talk about my mast, are you?
There are indeed many good qualities to the princess, I have heard.
Yes, many. But I do also have to say that I have been receiving quite a few visitors lately. I mean, I can understand that they want to talk with the High Prince. I am ruler of the Lhazaar Principalities, am I not? And don't let anyone tell you different.
I have not heard different. And My goodness, that must sounds like such a chore having to receive so many people. I do apologize if my guests might not be as exciting to talk to, but do give them a bit of your time.
Rebus.
So Rebus is really bad at insight, but like, is he the prince, or is like he just someone they've put on there, and is the prince like somewhere in the crowd?
That's a good question.
I really
wow,
wish Rebus were better at insight, but just since I was looking at the people before.
From what you could tell, like you've been walking through this hallway with all these paintings, and this person looks very similar to the person you saw in the paintings.
Okay.
That's what you could get from this. It's like, but honestly, that would be a good twist.
Fair
Thank
enough.
you for sharing that. I need to keep that in mind. That was good. The Prince Ryger, who still has Rayn on his lap, he's Rayn, you're so close to him, quite literally in his face right now. Can you give me a perception check with advantage? You can give yourself advantage because you have your silvery barbs on there. But you can. How long does that actually last?
It's a minute.
Well, then you would have to you could use it on this roll.
I'd have to
otherwise
use it this roll.
Yeah.
It's going to happen with advantage. I can't read that. This is one letter. Perception. That would be a 14.
Okay, so you see the prince in between sips of his drink and like just having you on his lap and like being all charming and nice. Exactly, that kind of conversation. You saw his eyes like dart over to side of the room, and on one of the sides of the room there's a door, and you see that door is slowly opening, and the prince looks at you. How about you join your friends down there? How about you go and have a few drinks? I will be right back. Lord Leowyn will have my attention soon. You can have him know that. There's one of the many other guests that I quickly have to finish business with.
Someone is more interesting than me?
Make a persuasion check.
Choose your words
Wow.
wisely, Prince.
It's another nat 20. That's a
Whoa.
26. I can put the camera over his one.
No.
So pretty.
No. I have no reason to disbelieve you. You look at him. Like, do you put on like these? Yeah, is that the look you give the prince? He looks at you. You see a man torn on the inside in front of you, and he. I cannot say that I think there is currently anyone more interesting than you in this room.
I can say the same. Please don't leave me. Take me with you.
And at that point, the door opens, and there's a few people coming out of the room. First, you see a few other of these soldiers dressed in the colors of the sea dragons, the blue and green. Also, each of them with other assorted hats, each of them their own design. They come out a bit in conversation, and they're followed by a Triton.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it.
Actually, they're followed by two Tritons. One of these Tritons, the audience, everyone viewing, would recognize. We've seen this Triton before on a very cold island.
Bring it.
Sibling to Rayn, a muscular soldier in golden armor, Nimbus underneath, in his full
Yep.
armor, his full gear. But he's not alone. Ida, what would Rayn's mother look like?
Oh my god! The battle of the families!
Awkward situation. Intensifies.
Rain had mimicked her before. She would also be a fairly tall individual, taller than Rain, not as tall as Nimbus. A very rigid, straight back. She would have like pin straight dark green hair, all the way back, like down to her waist. But the very ends of the hair are like all held together with numerous metal bands. And similar to the outfit that Rain actually wore on the Lyrandar airship, her mother would also be in this sort of gossamer white colored fabric, but there would be much more armor on top, golden pauldrons, breastplate, gauntlets, greaves, a sword and shield.
You see both of these tritons then come out of the room, and Rain, you immediately clock your family while
I'm
you're
just like-
still on.
Legs
Still holding-
over the lap.
And they're led out of the room, and you see, you really did a good job catching Rygar's attention, because his head only goes back to where the door opened when, over the noise in the room, you hear Nimbus calling, "Rain!" The man with the accordion stops. The clatter of cutlery and everything stops, and Prince Ryger jumps up, just pushes you off of his lap, and straightens his outfit. Your Highness, Lady Ondinath, we received a few more visitors, and I hope that you would agreed with the plans that we and the maps that I provided you with, and I am looking forward to our dinner tonight, Lady Ondinath. As he just like gets off from the throne, and he quite just leaves you there, right?
I relax on the throne. And I cross my legs and I look down at my family members. And I raise my glass and I bend water. I bend the Princess Carafe's liquid into my cup and I raise it and I drink.
If it was only Rain's family that came out of that room, there's one more person. It's now also apparent to all of you, since it's quiet now. Coming out behind the two Tritons and the soldiers, also attracted with a little bit faster footsteps by whatever has happened here in the hall, is Aurea Ercorin. And she stands there, she looks at the room. She first came into the room with a smile, but she clogs Rain on the throne, looks around the room, sees the rest of the party, and all of you see Aurea at this point. You're all aware of her presence here. What's the response of the rest of you to Aurea?
Rain swings her legs on the other armrest of the throne.
I kind of wish I had been drunk for this. I put down my drink and just kind of rest my head on my hand on the table.
I'm pushing my drink a bit.
And
Yeah.
kind of think of how I would get to my glaive on my back. Just like if things happen, a bit of steam comes out of my metal plates, just ready to jump into action if needed.
Yeah, Delphine is pushing her drink a bit to the side and leaning forward and basically grinning like, oh, look who we have there.
Yeah, and Dython actually just like turns around and he's just like making himself like broadens his shoulders a bit, looks over. Prince Ryger, is like currently standing in like the middle of all of this. There is an Undinoth on his throne, looking at two other Undinoth that just came out of the door. He sees the glances being thrown around between the new arrivals from House Lyrandar and Aurea, and he stands there, straightens his posture. I think all these happy reunions, they could need a little bit of a drink. Come. Take your places, sit down. It's all on me, all on the house. I think my line is being blessed today with many opportunities from many unexpected angles. And I'm willing to see how I, Prince Ryger, can bring all of them together to find common ground. Because that is what makes me such a good ruler. I find the common ground.
Rain will
Aurea.
yell from the throne. Start the music. The prince demands merriment. Rain is calling shots from the throne.
The guy with the accordion just like starts, but then another guy like, she's not with the prince. And he's like, and the prince goes, it's a good idea. Start the music, and the music starts, and Aurea looks across the room, while also the Undinoth, the other ones, look to Rain, and your mother especially looks at you. She doesn't say anything. She then moves to one of the long tables where she has a lot of space for herself, while Nimbus just straight up walks up to you and looks in, leans in closer and goes like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing with the prince? What is this? Another one of your weird adventures? Are you what?"
Are you jealous, dear brother?
You've picked a really bad timing to come here.
I was here first.
You don't say.
I'll let you in a little secret, brother. Do you know the gnome woman you walked in with?
We just had conversations with her. She's going to help us with a problem that concerns the Tritons, the Principalities.
I reach out and take his head and I put his forehead to mine. And I just sort of look him in the eye and telepathically I say, "She got me killed." And I release and move back and I serve myself another drink.
And
Not
Nimbus.
technically true.
Nimbus leans back, looks at you. I'm assuming you're just still smiling, right, Rain? Well, while the message you send telepathically is a heavy one, he leans back, looks at Aurea, who at this point has taken a seat next to your mother, and they're just in conversation with each other. He leans forward. "You need to talk with Mother."
I keep smiling and I resume the telepathic message because I assume that I'm on the Rain is on the throne and facing everyone, so she's mindful
Right.
of what her lips are saying and moving.
Right.
Mother was never really one to talk. That was more Father's position. Talking usually assumes the other party listens.
To which Nimbus says, with his speaking voice, still low, so that not everyone, he says like, "Well, you're a great listener."
I had wonderful examples.
You know what it implies that you're sitting on the throne of the prince and that we found you on his lap here?
Continue the thought to share.
You're insufferable. It's also
I've
good to
missed
see
you
you
too.
again. And he just quickly, he just puts, a hand on your shoulder real quick, and then also wanders over to your mother.
Before he leaves the full 30 feet, tell her. Rain will telepathically convey, then words will be had with mother.
He
Do not
puts up his
trust.
shoulder.
Do not trust the gnome.
He nods and moves over there. To which end, Prince Ryger comes next up to his throne.
I scooch
Is
over
this-
and I pat it.
Is this your typical approach for any kind of important person? You waltz into their throne room, take their throne, mildly embarrass them in front of potential allies. I have to give it to you. And he leans in. You don't really take after the other Tritons?
Would you rather I switch over into that?
Oh god, no.
I know. Think of the stories you'll tell of today. Think
what other
of
stories?
think of the way you can think of the truth and how everyone has witnessed the recovery and the rescue of the situation you've proposed.
Yes, but I also consider the fact that there's going to be a story told that I had one of the Undeneth line on my throne on my lap. There's certain rumors that will be spreading about that.
Will they be beneficial?
I'm working really hard on keeping, the Bachelor vibe, you know?
Like one more swing. And I'll get up from the throne and just sort of whirl around behind him to face him and be like, oh, and out loud, my fragile heart. I am not strong enough for your wiles.
I am like this. I'm like the sea. Wild, relentless, but I cannot be tamed.
You have not seen the last of me, Prince. You will always have a part of me.
And he does also, as you leave, he does this very dramatic last kiss after you. And somewhere on the tables, you see Darian looking at this. And Scylla sitting next to him, writing it down, honey, writing it down.
What actually happened to
And-
Scylla's husband?
Well, that's also in her novel somewhere. With that scene being set, with Rayn having left the throne, other members of the Undeneth family here, and your former employer and rival also on the scene, negotiations with the High Prince of Regalport will be tense and dangerous. What do the Tritons of the Undeneth family want? What does Aurea want? Well, I think we all know the answer to that. And what will this bode for the Lyrandars and for our heroes? We'll find out in the next session, next week, as we wrap up for today.
I'll also finish that Rain just went down the steps from the throne. She hasn't decided which table to go to. Well,
So is Dythur's family also gonna show up?
they're cats. Do they like? I don't think they like the water too much.
And
If they're
there's
like
gonna
that,
be
you
Have to bring. I was so happy seeing everyone have to deal with their family trauma and just from a corner with my popcorn.
yes, there's
That was
more.
all I needed.
Everyone's family Look, we're going to a place with lots of water, lots of islands. We needed some tritons in here, and not just rain. So
That's
time
true.
to bring in more of them.
So Rain
been a
has
while
a
since
very
we've seen him, but-
embarrassing time.
No. That would imply Rain has shame. She can't
That's
be
actually
embarrassed if she
true.
has no shame.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, because you can spell shame without rain. Think about that one.
Ow.
What are we doing?
Hurting. We're hurting.
Well, how could we not, with everyone's family getting involved? But I'm already looking forward to how this will develop from here. For now, we are going to slowly wind down for today. But before we leave, we will be here back next week for Convergence Manifesto. But we'll also be already back here on Friday because we will be having a stream on Friday for WAVAW Rape Crisis Center, who is holding their Streaming for Survivors event to raise funds for their great charity to help victims of sexual harassment and sexual assault. And we are helping out with that on Friday with a stream where we are going to have an amazing group that will play 3 kobolds in a trench coat. It is back on this channel. Last year, we already had a one-shot that was led by Ida. But this year, we're going to have a 3 kobolds in the trench coat one-shot led by Safia with a bunch of amazing, chaotic kobolds that will come on this channel and help us raise funds for WAVAW.
It's wave off.
Wave off. Wave
Yeah.
off. Wave off. Thank you. Wave off. Apologies. Wave off. Wave off for on Friday, which will start at the same time as our stream starts here on Tuesday. So that should be 7 p.m. GMT and 2 p.m. EST, if I'm not mistaken.
3 p.m.
3
This
p.m.
time. Yeah.
This
it's
time,
wrong
after
for
the
you.
weekend, we're aligned again, and it should be
Yeah.
fine. Daylight
I
savings
gotta-
is this weekend.
I gotta fix some images for multiple channels.
Also our Convergence Manifesto game next week will also be dedicated to Streaming for Survivors. So we're going to be raising funds during that, also for Streaming for Survivors. So one more reason to tune in next week to our game. And that is currently for the coming week for Horde of Tales. What's in brewing? What's brewing with anyone else here at the table?
What you got? Otherwise, I got the usual spiel.
You go.
Nothing to add.
This-
Sorry.
Well, people find them on their socials because they're awesome.
Exactly.
Let's see. Friday, I have the finale of Alien RPG at Girls Run These Worlds at 8 p.m. 6 p.m. GMT because they went back. Yeah, they went back 1 hour. I'll retweet it. My character made it to the finale. They had another death in the last episode. It's basically my character and someone else, and one of us, either of us is the android traitor. I can say it's not me, but you'll say, Ida, it's a really android thing to say. But come watch and figure out who it is. Bring your popcorn. Because ultimately it's us and everyone else who respawns on the other side, on the other team. We're in full PvP mode. Not to mention there's also aliens. It's terrifying. And this weekend, I think to be confirmed, but we're going to have a double header for Brinkwood at Diane's channel at Balrog 1911 to finish up our campaign. We're in the final foray. The party itself has been splintered with distrust. There has been yelling, there has been violence, and hopefully there's going to be some killed vampire overlords to meet up. And last but not
Nice.
least, as always, I want to pitch for Roll for Good. Roll for Good is a UK EU community of TTRPG nerds who want to harness the power of role-playing games for good and to raise money for charities and causes we care deeply about. This coming event, May 27-28, will be supporting ILGA, which is a international organization of various NGOs and groups that go and fight for LGBTQIA human rights, that they are enshrined in constitutions as inalienable rights that must be defended and upheld internationally. We're going to have 2 days of streams. Our call for GMs is still open this week. You want to run a run shot? You're amenable to EU, UK time zones. You have a wonderful idea. You are femme, woman, non-binary, queer, BIMPOC, neurodivergent, disabled, have a wonderful story to share, and you want to do it for good? Join us, please do so, and find us at Twitter/roll4good, FOR4good. And if you don't want to be forward-facing on stream, work behind the scenes. We have cool mod squad. We need producers, we need artists, we need masters of ceremonies, all ways to help out, and it's a great community, so come join us.
Absolutely. Link to the Twitter for Good is also in chat, so you can also find all the announcement there and how to help them out with this amazing crew.
I heard this really good things about that mod squad, Marcus.
They are amazing. They are filled with only amazing people who are the best mods who have ever modded.
Marcus is on the mod squad.
And I'm so accidentally also be on the mod squad, but that's a completely different thing. Alrighty. Thanks for that, Ida. You can find me only this week only here, but not coming Saturday, but the Saturday after that. I also have the finale of my Vampire the Masquerade game, A Study in Ivory. Things are really tense. Things are really chaotic, and but also really great because the group I play with is just a bunch of amazing people, and you should totally check them out because they're all super cool role players and weave a super cool tale, and I'm honestly super excited about that game. You should check us out over at Manipod Studios. And if you can't wait until next week, Saturday, to see what this game is about, you can see the VODs also on the YouTube channel of Manipod Studios, where you can see what we've been up to in Vampire the Masquerade in Beautiful Knees.
We have a YouTube.
With that, sorry?
We have a YouTube too, right?
We also have a YouTube where you can catch all of our stuff over at youtube.com/Horde of Tales, where we have all our VODs of all our sessions and also amazing shorts created by our very own Ida with the highlights of our games. Really nice digestible content from the highlights of our games with really great editing. I find myself laughing at all of them.
They're all wonderful moments that we've created here, like rolling back eyes, or Austin trying to make everything an athletics check.
Exactly. And if you also enjoyed what we did here today, you can always follow us here on Twitch, subscribe to our Twitch channel, and over on YouTube, we also love it if you can give us a subscription, give us a thumbs up, leave comments under our videos, tell us your opinions, what you think about us, and all of that helps to feed the algorithm. But enough about that. We will have ourselves a little strong grok and play some accordion music as we are heading out for today. Thanks to my table here today. It's been a pleasure again to have you here, and I'm looking forward to next week. Everyone, stay safe,